China is at the edge of total chaos. No one should be in any doubt today that Chinese people are well and truly fed up with sudden and hasty lockdowns, steel gates around their homes and buildings, daily mandatory tests, the excessive zeal of hazmat-suited government officers, and the avoidable tragedies, both economic and in the form of mental and societal damage they've caused to thousands of people. Remarkable protests have now spread across the country, prompting unspeakably brave displays of resistance and defiance. What we're seeing across China is momentous. And to make things even worse, China's economy is at the edge of collapse. Now, I'm not the first one to make such a video. There have been several other creators and news channels sharing that the Chinese society and economy is at the brink of collapse. Strict COVID policy and Chinese real estate Ponzi schemes are the main reasons for this. In this video, we'll focus on the economic side of things, how the Chinese economy went from the best performing economy to the edge of chaos. So, let's dig deeper. China's current economic woes are due to a Ponzi scheme of more than $9 trillion. Let us explain how things got this far. A real estate developer comes to take pre-sale money and banks funding to build homes. Before they complete the project, they use the same buildings as collateral to collect more funding to build more unfinished homes, and the activity goes on and on. You may not believe this, but the fact is 85% of homes in China are pre-sold. However, it'll take months, if not years, to complete the unfinished homes. This is why we see unfinished buildings all around China. This is something which seriously upset investors. People are actually so fed up in China with the situation of real estate that they boycotted 300 of these unfinished projects across 90 cities. People are actually protesting in the streets, demanding banks to pay back their deposit money. Also, they've stopped paying the mortgages for the homes which have not been built to date. Housing demand has dropped by 16.9%. Since 2016, this is the lowest level, while home sales dropped by 25%. In response, the government and banks are responding by sending in police forces, or in severe cases, even the military, to stabilize the situation. This situation will have an effect on the rest of the world, including the US stock market. China is the second largest economy in the world after the US. This is another reason why there's growing tension between China and the US. The US wants to audit the financial statements of several companies. Obviously, the US wants to know how bad things can get. It's a surprising fact that mainland China and Hong Kong are the only couple of jurisdictions that do not allow any kind of inspections following their confidentiality. For the same reason, 5 of the largest Chinese companies have been taken off of the US stock exchange. These aren't the only ones. There are around 300 Chinese companies that have a collective market cap of $2.4 trillion who are at the risk of being delisted. This includes giants like Alibaba. It seems that the US is already prepared to face the impact, hence, all we need to do is wait and watch. In this video, I'll try to explain what is going on and how all this will impact us. Let's get into the details. First of all, we're going to talk about how we reached the point where we're standing right now. We got here because of a company called Evergrande. It is one of the greatest land developers in China, which defaulted on its interest payments. This company is seen as Lehman Brothers in the US, which is a bad thing in and of itself. The collapse of Lehman Brothers partially struck the global financial crisis of 2008. In order to understand the significance of real estate to the Chinese as well as the world, let's have an example in US context. In the US, the rate of homeownership is 65.8%, while in China, it's 90%. Earlier, it was considered as a safe investment. More importantly, in Chinese culture, it's highly valuable to have a home. Though it's significant in the US as well, it's not to the extent that it is in China. This is because home prices to income in China doesn't seem to be real. For instance, the average price of home to income ratio in the United States is 4.7 times. This implies that if you're earning $50,000 annually, you would be able to get approval on a $235,000 to $250,000 house, and that will be your maximum limit. In China, this ratio is somewhere 20 to 35 times the annual income of people. These are the pre-pandemic numbers, and today, the same numbers have gone to 50% of people's income in certain cities like Beijing and Shanghai. Can you think of earning $50,000 annually and then asking the bank to approve a loan of $250 million? The American banking system would never allow this. But you can see how quickly these prices got way out of reach if such purchases were allowed. You can well imagine how profitable it would be to a real estate developer in China. Also, you'd have an idea about why this sector makes up 30% of China's GDP. In other words, 1/3 of Chinese money is made by selling real estate. This is the same reason why companies like Evergrande became such a giant, getting over 1,300 projects across 280 cities. This greed permeated the Chinese economy, and the collapse of Evergrande was the first domino to fall. However, it's not the only one which stopped making payments. Let's see how deeper things can get. So far, the damage worth $90 billion of real estate value has been wiped off. So this is not only Evergrande, but 4 other major developers which are no longer listed on China's own stock market. This includes the Kaisa Group, Sunac, Chamao Group, and China Ouyuan. Overall, 60 real estate developers owe almost $13 billion in repayments which are due this year. All of this does not seem to be good. This is because some of them have already applied for extensions, while some of them clearly cannot pay. Consumer confidence is really low. Home values as well as home sales have begun to drop. There's no guarantee that China's economy will not default soon. I have to agree that the Ponzi scheme was perfect. However, they missed a step. First, build and then pre-sell the homes at overly priced values. Number 2, use the profit which you made in the earlier step to at least half-build homes. Step 3, before you finish the building, ask for more pre-sales, and then you went wrong. Number 4, you didn't see the global pandemic around the corner. Everything was then delayed, which eventually left people in an upset state of mind because neither were you completing the projects nor were you paying back your money. And then number 5, you defaulted and collapsed. The Chinese property sector is estimated to drop 30% as compared to 2008 when it collapsed 20%. Even then, this was fine if they had stuck to the basics of diversifying their portfolio. However, in fact, 70% of Chinese wealth is made by real estate. Warren Buffett felt really sad at this fact and said that this is not diversification of portfolio. However, now, China is at the point where people are in the streets protesting. They've had enough of everything. The Chinese economy is at the verge of collapse. The trillion-dollar question which the world wants to know is, how bad will things get? How will these circumstances affect investors all around the world? Well, the simple and straightforward answer is that no one really knows. This is because a lot of data is hidden. The Chinese government is basically doing what any government would do in such scenario. That is, they'll approve a bailout. It was recently announced that Beijing has approved a plan of $44 billion in bailout to support the stressed property developers, finish their projects, and regain consumer trust and confidence. This won't do anything other than more insane spending and more corporate greed. In these circumstances, who's going to worry about the government bailing them out? Also, why would you follow the rules of the 3 red line policy, which was actually meant to restrict the amount of leverage? Therefore, collapse has happened already. Then again, how it will affect the rest of the world is the question, and no one knows the answer. All we have to do is wait and watch. There are many interesting things about to happen around us.